Plug, pull up with the pack and I ain't even bust it down. Couple minutes on my phone, I promise I'm gon' get it gone. I stay solid, I get caught, I'm fighting till they sit me down. You get caught, you singing like a nigga in the studio. Brody sold the whip for 1,000 cause we just slid in it. I really make a house call, fuck if your kids in it. Been through some shit, that's why my heart too froze. You ain't living what you rapping in a studio. You get your noodle blown, fucking with the opposition. My brother making decisions on anybody that's dissing. With the quickness, I'ma make a decision, I'm on a mission. You tripping, thinking we missing, I'm shooting up with precision. Red beam on the barrel to give myself some assistance. My brother come through like sniper, he knock you off from a distance. Big foe with no foe, I'm balling just like a piston. We get the... Damn, heard it's another man down in my city, Brody Chopper got a red dot and some titties, I ain't with the drama. I'm just trying to touch a milli, I'm a addy dropper. Cause on my mama we get busy. Another man down in my city, Brody Chopper got a red dot and some titties, I ain't with the drama. I'm just trying to touch a milli, I'm a addy dropper. Cause on my mama we get busy. Plug, pull up with the pack and I ain't even bust it down. Couple minutes on my phone, I promise I'm gon' get it gone. I stay solid, I get caught, I'm fighting till they sit me down. You get caught, you singing like a nigga in the studio. Brody sold the whip for 1,000 cause we just slid in it. I really make a house call, fuck if your kids in it. Been through some shit, that's why my heart too froze. You ain't living what you rapping in a studio. You get your noodle blown, fucking with the opposition. My brother making decisions on anybody that's dissing. With the quickness, I'ma make a decision, I'm on a mission. You tripping, thinking we missing, I'm shooting up with precision. Red beam on the barrel to give myself some assistance. My brother come through like sniper, he knock you off from a distance. Big foe with no foe, I'm balling just like a piston. We get the... Damn, heard it's another man down in my city, Brody Chopper got a red dot and some titties, I ain't with the drama. I'm just trying to touch a milli, I'm a addy dropper. Cause on my mama we get busy. Another man down in my city, Brody Chopper got a red dot and some titties, I ain't with the drama. I'm just trying to touch a milli, I'm a addy dropper. Cause on my mama we get busy. Plug, pull up with the pack and I ain't even bust it down. Couple minutes on my phone, I promise I'm gon' get it gone. I stay solid, I get caught, I'm fighting till they sit me down. You get caught, you singing like a nigga in the studio. Brody sold the whip for 1,000 cause we just slid in it. I really make a house call, fuck if your kids in it. Been through some shit, that's why my heart too froze. You ain't living what you rapping in a studio. You get your noodle blown, fucking with the opposition. My brother making decisions on anybody that's dissing. With the quickness, I'ma make a decision, I'm on a mission. You tripping, thinking we missing, I'm shooting up with precision. Red beam on the barrel to give myself some assistance. My brother come through like sniper, he knock you off from a distance. Big foe with no foe, I'm balling just like a piston. We get the... Damn, heard it's another man down in my city, Brody Chopper got a red dot and some titties, I ain't with the drama. I'm just trying to touch a milli, I'm a addy dropper. Cause on my mama we get busy. Another man down in my city, Brody Chopper got a red dot and some titties, I ain't with the drama. I'm just trying to touch a milli, I'm a addy dropper. Cause on my mama we get busy. Plug, pull up with the pack and I ain't even bust it down. Couple minutes on my phone, I promise I'm gon' get it gone. I stay solid, I get caught, I'm fighting till they sit me down. You get caught, you singing like a nigga in the studio. Brody sold the whip for 1,000 cause we just slid in it. I really make a house call, fuck if your kids in it. Been through some shit, that's why my heart too froze. You ain't living what you rapping in a studio. You get your noodle blown, fucking with the opposition. My brother making decisions on anybody that's dissing. With the quickness, I'ma make a decision, I'm on a mission. You tripping, thinking we missing, I'm shooting up with precision. Red beam on the barrel to give myself some assistance. My brother come through like sniper, he knock you off from a distance. Big foe with no foe, I'm balling just like a piston.
The El Nino Podcast. I'm Eladio Nino, and this is Real Everyday People. So some good news is today I started a job, man. I started a new job. Yes, sir. Yes, sir, man. I'm excited. You know, I've been without a job since January 7th. It's been rough, you know what I'm saying? But, you know, I needed the time that I did because, you know, everybody knows that, you know, I did 17 years in prison. I came home 2019 and got to work. Been busy ever since then. No breaks, you know what I'm saying? So, you know, I've been off for a few months and I'm okay with it just because I finally got to rest. I got to evaluate some things and, you know, thank God, you know what I'm saying, that my patience paid off. I just started a new job working at the juvenile detention facility downtown. It's a brand new facility that was just built. You know, thank you to Danny Harani, Daryl Woods, Melissa Fernandez, Quincy Smith. Thank you for everybody, you know, for the referral letters and, you know, everybody who was rooting for me, man. Thank you. I appreciate it. It's definitely, you know, life-changing for me. It's something that I can, you know, build a career with. And, you know, so today today was my first day. I'm excited about it, but more than anything, the impact that I'm gonna be able to make on young lives. You know what I'm saying? There's young brothers and sisters, you know, who are locked up and you know, it's just I don't want it to be the gateway to prison. You know, I was in juvenile when I was a kid. I was a hellraiser. You know what I'm saying? And so now I get to be able to share my story and be able to help these kids, you know, find new ways. You know what I'm saying, to live their life. You know, and how to build, you know, a different set of values and morals and standards and, you know, just, you know, things like that. But you know, got a special guest here. You know, he's here for the second, maybe third time. Who knows? But it's always a pleasure. Every time he comes, you know what I'm saying? It's always a pleasure. You know what I'm saying? He always brings good news. He's always got, you know, some shit going on. He's the, you know, HMIC, the head Mexican in charge over here of the culture creators, man. We got my man Reyes over here,
bro.
man.
Appreciate you. Always.
Man, my dog. What's up with you, bro?
So I got a gift for you. So one of the projects, you know, we're a part of Herradura Tequila. Recently we were in Mexico, and we actually got to go to the Casa Herradura, which I can tell you a little bit about. But this is our Ultra, and you know, to me, we have a new Blanco that's out, but I had to pick before I got to the podcast, and I felt like this would be the best selection for us to sip on while we're in the interview. So I also get that started too.
Yes, sir, man. Thank you very much.
Course, I'm gonna open this up for us.
Go
right,
ahead,
you,
hell yeah,
cool,
make it happen.
Cool.
I love it. I love when they come, they bear gifts. You know what I'm saying?
In our culture, it's really bad taste to go someplace and not bring a gift. So just so you know, if you ever come to my house, you got to make sure you bring a gift.
Absolutely.
There we go. Cool. That's a pretty
Woo, that's pretty. Yeah. I like it.
Gotta have the shot.
Oh man.
Okay. Hell right, cool. Yeah.
Well, we can chop it up while I open this.
Yeah.
I'm a little
Do you guys want a shot? Okay.
Oh.
I'm down.
Yeah, man.
down?
Hell yeah. You gotta take a shot, man. What the fuck?
We need another glass then, right?
Well, we
got one up here. We got ours up here.
Yeah, we're good. We got them right here. You guys are straight.
All right, Ron, second to that.
We're gonna make it a family affair
I knew I
today.
should have opened. Oh, there it goes. I knew I should have opened this bottle because look, I knew I was gonna struggle through the box and the bottle, so I tried to pre-open it. Look, I tried to pre-open it.
Hell
then I
no,
ripped it.
still tore that bitch up.
There we go.
That's a badass horseshoe on there.
Yeah,
man.
so like this is
dope.
the backstory on it is that one of the family members that developed it, they were looking to do something in this plot of land they had, right? And they didn't really know what they were going to do.
Okay.
And they started this idea of doing the tequila, and they stumbled upon the horseshoe, right? For Mexicans, the horseshoe is good luck, right? So when you have a horseshoe, you put it up, it kind of exudes the good luck from the horseshoe. So this is an upside down horseshoe with the idea that when you pour, right, it goes right side up.
Oh,
and so it's like, you know, pouring the good luck into, it could be good or bad luck, depending on you know, how in control of yourself you are, but hopefully you drink in moderation and you'll be good.
I love it. I love that concept.
All right, these cups are stuck together, so there we go. Boom. All right, yeah. So, boom. All right, cool. All right, here's a shot. Who's gonna join us? What are we doing,
man? Come on, Brian.
What are we doing?
Come on, man. Don't tell me you're gonna throw up.
Salud.
We'll make a reel out that shit.
Bring it to,
come on, get you one, Brian.
What you doing?
He better come on in, man.
Yeah. So. Salud.
Hey man, salud, man.
Salud. Yeah, it's gonna hit you right.
That's right.
Very cool.
Wow, that's smooth. Woo.
Yeah, the Ultra is really good. The Ultra to me, it's one of my favorite ones.
You want a shot of this tequila? Look, he brought us a gift. Babe, you got one? Hell yeah.
You can put it in yours if you want.
I'll get it for her. Proceed to take this out.
Might as well.
He brought us a gift, baby.
He's upstairs.
There you go.
Hell
Cool.
Yeah, you see the bottle with the horseshoe on it, baby?
That's very good.
Yeah, I think to me, Herradura has a really good quality. I think you know, we got to taste. So they brought us out there, and part of it is like part of our work with We Are Culture Creators is. So there's this new marketing kind of experience of experiential marketing, of being able to build, of being able to connect a product, but it's something that you really want to experience. And so for us, we're brought on to help just connect with the culture, right? And so part of us building with Herradura as well as Jack Daniels, is they're supporting the arts. And so part of the projects that we do with them is they kind of back for the year. They give us support to be able to create the things that are the crazy things in our head we can actualize and see and visualize and make. So we have Cinco de Mayo coming up, and they're a part of that. We have a series called Audio Jack, which is about playing music and DJs. And then we have a project called The Listening with Jack Daniels, which is all about local artists playing music for each other. So we got to visit the Casa Herradura, and we were there with 27 other kind of creatives from across the country. And it was funny because, like, you know, we do more events, and so I'm not like a viral presence. I may have like, you know, maybe close to 9,000 followers on my Instagram, and we're
That's
sitting
pretty damn
yeah,
good,
but
man.
we're sitting next to people with 375,000 followers. And they have a reality show with Netflix.
Yeah.
But you know, I would say that as like the Detroit crew that went out, I think, you know, we were able to take some of them outside of their normal comfort zone, taking them into Guadalajara. We have a lot of friends in Guadalajara. We produced a few events there. And then after the trip from Herradura, we ended up in Mexico City and starting this new project where we're bringing Mexican artists to the United States to perform or DJ. And then cross-sectionally, we're performing and presenting in Mexico City. And it's weird because, like, you know, being third gen, my great-grandfather is buried in Mexico City, right? And like that's where he's at. I found his grave like maybe 10 years ago. So we're the children of an affair with his maid. So his maid was my great grandmother, and she's buried in a small farming town near Reese, Michigan, which is like near Cairo and Akron and this little pocket.
Okay.
So there's like, to me, the interesting thing is like, you know, she's there in this little obscure cemetery that you wouldn't even really see on a map, and he's in this really famous cemetery called the French Cemetery. And so that mix of identity and culture, and that's something I'm, you know, currently writing about and trying to create, is just thinking about those spaces, you know. So outside of just We Are Culture Creators, which I'm the director of with Elizabeth Stone, I'm also a spoken word artist and poet. And the last time, I don't think we talked about it too much, but definitely for this round, you know, I started this new role with Visit Detroit. And I'm the global underground ambassador.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Brother.
Yeah.
Congratulations, man.
And
for real.
You know, I've been working with Visit Detroit for a number of years, and we finally kind of made it official and got the certificate and signed the contract and are building some great content and really building a real space for that other side of Detroit that doesn't often get covered, right? I don't like the word influencer necessarily, but that's probably for lack of a better word. You know, I feel like I'm a storyteller, so I want to create stories and content outside of the normal pocket. I still go to, like, you know, cover the Pistons game. I'll still go and you know, go to like some underground events. Yeah, Visit Detroit, actually, if you look, boom, right there, that's Visit Detroit. So they sponsored some of the Pistons merch this last round. I actually went to my first playoff game, you know. Shout out to Visit Detroit. And I was telling you earlier, bro, I couldn't even imagine asking my people like to take me to a game, right? And so then I got these free tickets from Visit Detroit, these complimentary tickets to go to my first playoff game for any sport, not just basketball, but any sport. And so I FaceTimed my dad and my mom, and I was showing them like, yo, look where I'm at. I'm in a suite. And my dad was super happy for me.
It's crazy how we still have that inner child in us, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure, bro.
And like, you know, sometimes, you know, when it's your first time, you know, and every time you go, it just gets a little bit better and better. But it's like that inner child just so excited because, you know, we were just deprived of them opportunities when we were younger.
Yeah, you know, and it's like, and probably for you or maybe like for me, bro, I didn't even think about really asking to do those things. Like it wasn't even in my mind to think about, hey, can we go to Detroit? Growing up in Saginaw, it's like an hour, 45 minutes, and we would come to Detroit for stuff. Like I did go to a few Tigers games, but basketball was a little bit different, you know, like it was a different price range, and, you know, it was a little bit different. But I think, you know, this last season I took my pops to a baseball game, and I bought him a jersey, right? Because he's a baseball fan his whole life, and he had never had a real jersey. But my pops is like also like, I'm like, yo, which jersey you want? You know, what's your name? He goes, a grown man should never have another man's name on his back. So he got the blank. I'm like, all right, well, all right.
John Wayne.
Yeah, bro. Yeah. So I got him
real.
a blank jersey. I don't even know what number it was, but it was definitely cool to be able to do those sort of things. And I think with Visit Detroit, you know, I get to open up opportunities for my friends, my young folks. You know, they sent us over to just north of Manchester. There's a team called Burnley, football team, soccer team, depending on, you know, but it's a soccer team. And this last year we got sent out there to cover the Burnley game and experience it, and a few of our young folks went. And I think just seeing them being able to experience that kind of level, we got to go on the field, got to take some photos in front of the mural, and it was really cool to see,
Listen, brother, let me take a moment to appreciate the things that you've done in Southwest Detroit. You know what I'm saying? Because I've been home about 5 years now. For those who don't know, I met this brother in the joint, Ed Jackson.
True.
He came in as a volunteer for our Cinco de Mayo event.
That's true. It was Cinco de Mayo, right? I forgot it was Cinco de Mayo. Yeah.
Shout out Maximo Anguiano. He got a team of people. Jackson Community College. He brought about 20, 30 people with him. It was one of the best experiences we ever had. This brother here is super talented. You know what I'm saying? He tells all of us, give me a word. Give me a word. You give me a word. Everybody give me a word. And he went, put it on paper, came back, freestyle, killed it. And still was asking for more words so he can just keep on going. I was like, damn, I never seen anybody with the ability to remember all them words and be able to just lay a whole freestyle out. You know what I'm saying? What's it called? What do you call it? Spoken word? Like a spoken word
piece. Yeah.
And I got a picture when you was in it. I got the picture. I'm sure I sent it to you once or twice.
Bro,
you know what I'm saying? And I just thought the brother was powerful. Then I come home some years later, 2019, and this brother is in Southwest Detroit. I remember he told me he's from Chicago by way of, Saginaw.
Grew up in Saginaw, but was in Chicago 13 years. Yeah. So I spent most of my formative 20s to my early 30s in Chicago. Yeah.
So I come to Southwest, and who's the man? My man right here. You hear me? I hear about the culture creators. I'm going to the events, and I'm just like, damn, I am amazed. I'm in awe, you know what I'm saying, of what this brother was able to come to our community and build and be able to do, and the platforms, the opportunity that he has built for so much of the talent, you know what I'm saying, that we have in our community. You know what I'm saying?
Thank you for that.
And, bro, that is honorable. You know what I'm saying, bro? You could have came here and fucked some shit up and joined the crowd and and did all the other bullshit that we're used to.
Even coming here, bro, it wasn't an intentional plan to do a nonprofit. I had a pretty good career in the nonprofit space in Chicago. I was pretty established. A lot of my young folks went on to produce, Grammy nominated projects, from the 3005 song with Childish Gambino to Chance the Rapper to working with DJ Khaled. A lot of my young folks in Chicago were pretty successful, but there was always something in my head that wanted to be home, and home for me is Michigan. I would love to do more work in Saginaw, which I'm trying to figure out. I'll be in Saginaw for another one of my friends' podcast. He does Mi Gente magazine, and that's really my first mentorship where I was able to leave Saginaw was with Mi Gente magazine. I used to come to Detroit and deliver newspapers, bro. I used to be in the back but it got me around Detroit, and I have family in Detroit. I have cousins, that grew up here, but my family's so big, and they're a different generation. You got younger cousins, you're not necessarily coming up together. So I know they were out here, and so there was always something that when I was living in New York, when I was living in Spain, when I was doing work in Chicago, it's I wanted to be home. I wanted to be home. I wanted to be home. And coming back to Michigan at Jackson State Prison, I met, who's not my ex-girlfriend, but my business partner, right? Who I love and respect, Elizabeth Stone. And,
you said you met her.
I met her there.
At that same event. In prison.
I met her in prison, yeah.
That's wild.
She was a guest
bro.
speaker, too. Yeah.
That is wild.
I looked over, I was like, who is that? And then, with life, things didn't work out on the relationship side, but we created something beautiful on the nonprofit cultural art side. And, I get back, and I didn't really even think Detroit was an opportunity in the sense of where I could work and build, right? Because I wasn't familiar with Detroit, right? I was really coming in blindly ignorant, and I started meeting all these really great people, and it started to become more real. And then when me and Elizabeth got together, we purchased a home, and that kind of led to us being in a space where Damasio, who's an amazing artist.
Damasio, what up, though?
Yeah. And he was a part of a group called Awkward Theory. And I wanted to try to manage them. With management, it didn't work out. But out of that, it birthed this other idea. I had already had culture creators technically in Chicago, but we were just doing shows. When I got to Detroit and I saw all these young folks And it's really like addressing a need. What was the need? The need was they didn't have a studio space consistently. They didn't have performance space. And these guys were all young, right? You're talking about 15, 16, 17, 18 years old. So at that time, we weren't thinking about brand deals or we weren't thinking about partnerships. We were literally in the mud. The backyard of the Culture House, which is where, I live in the house next door now, was the center of the universe. It didn't matter, bro. And when you got a focused group, nothing else outside of that group matters. And so we were literally for 3 years doing backyard shows, right? Going from like 15 people
I loved it.
to 20 people to 30 people to 40 people to our first concert that we did was Kurt Cobain's. It was a Cinco de Mayo got a lot of resonance because that was a Cinco de Mayo show too. That was our first time. We did Sal Picon. We had a bunch of artists: Robbie Dizzle, Damasio, Curtis Roach.
Shout out to Cuz,
we worked with the Crowd Freak, and we did this whole thing. But because of that, all these brands kind of popped up. Adidas popped up. Red Bull popped in.
Damn,
there was a label
cold.
called Assemble Sound that's still out, that still works in the city pretty heavy, and has a bunch of artists in LA that are signed.
Dope.
So it kind of was our first, like, out of our backyard kind of event. And then eventually we started getting tapped in to produce events, right? And so part of our work as culture creators, we are a nonprofit, but we don't fit the traditional mold of a nonprofit. And I think that's where people struggle. And I think we do that purposely. We're not the only one in the country, right? There's this really dope group out of Indianapolis, if you get a chance, called Gang Gang. Super amazing nonprofit. But if you look at them, they don't look like a nonprofit, right? They look like a commercial entity that is viable and independent. And the reason why we kind of double down on doing our own shows is like grant money is good, and so that's a percentage of what we bring in. But our sponsorship deals is another percentage, and then our own events. So you got to think of culture creators work as if you did a nonprofit theater. If you went to a nonprofit theater and you gave a $10 donation, you understand that donation is going into the theater, right? Our theater is 100 venues across the city. That's our theater, right? So when you go to an event and you're donating, that's all being processed back through our nonprofit, and then that's how we pay our staff, our team. That's how we're able to do the work we're able to do. So it's a different model, and we didn't want to do like, it's okay if you're doing classes with young people to learn how to make beats, because I think that's an amazing thing.
Hell
I think like, one of our partners is MCSDA, Motor City Street Dance Academy
Yes,
with
sir.
Mav, and they do amazing work. And
Shout
I love
out to Mav, man.
Yes, sir. And
Swab, all them boys.
and I love that we're able to cross pollinate. But I think there was also room for young people that wanted to professionalize, right? That wanted to do the next step. And I felt like that's what we could give, so we weren't redundant, because, there's a lot of great groups in Southwest and in Detroit. Because I also know, like, unannounced, we are opening a new studio in the Fisher building, right? So we won't just be in Southwest, right? So
That's cold.
in the next 3 months, we'll be in a process of opening a new production studio. But part of our
That's dope.
part
That's dope
part
to
of
see.
our vision was to be able to help those young people that are just right at the cusp and need a little bit more help to develop. And so that's what we focused on, because we felt that 18 to 24-year-old space was important. And when I was in Chicago, I kind of had to stop at 18. When the kids turned 18, I was like, I can't really offer you anything because it's like an after-school program. Here, I wanted to do something that could help elevate past. And then, we have young folks, alum, that are 27, 28, 30, 32, that have gone through the process with it, but are proper adults. And, one of the main keys to our success, I believe, is that if you work with us and you want to do something beyond the nonprofit, because you can always do the nonprofit no matter what. But if you want to do some other work in a partnership, that you have your own LLC, your own company, your own collective, only because, you've worked in the nonprofit sector. You go through and you work, but you don't get to keep that nonprofit, right? You work and then that's it. Once your job is up, that's it. So for me, working with young people, I want them to be able to count on culture creator. We are culture creators, but I also want them to be able to have something that's theirs. So if anything, maybe you wake up one day, you're like, I don't really want to do this. Or maybe I wake up one day and be like, you know what? I'm going to quit this. You have something to take with you. And I think that's what makes us different than a lot of other groups. And I think it's a good thing, right? Because we also have this idea, I think, in nonprofits and in work, that it has to be forever, right? Like, oh, how are you going to pass on? To me, things last. And if culture creators were to, like, let's say I don't want to do it in 5 years, but culture creators stem 9 other groups, that's our work. I don't have to have, we are culture creators passed on to another person. It could just end. And then, bro, like Damasio has a collective called Nonstop Hip Hop. Amazing collective. They do great work. They're building cool stuff in the city. And to me, that's the best representation. He got his own sponsorship, his own partnerships, things that I have nothing to do with, bro. Like, you know what I'm saying? He'll call me and be like, hey, we just got this deal with, I'm like, bro, how did you get that? I was trying to get a hold of them.
DJ EJ too, man.
And that's the other one, right? Fiesta House. So like with Fiesta House, that's a partnership between Fiesta Vibes Detroit, which is EJ's company, and we are culture creators. EJ has his own autonomy. He has his ability to do what he wants to do. If I wake up and say, culture creators, I don't want to do it no more, he's got a whole Fiesta House series that he's already built that's his. Damn. You know what I mean? Yeah. So to me, that's what the power is that collectively, culture creators is kind of like, it's the conduit to bring everybody together, and then people go out into the world and produce the things they want to create. And I hope we can be partners in it, but that isn't the overarching thing, right? The overarching goal is, imagine if the next 5 years we have another 4 or 5, bro. You're talking about 15 collectives.
So you're pretty much bringing out the best.
Well, that's what I hope.
Helping them tap into their own potential.
Yeah, that's what I hope.
Their own talents. You know.
Yeah, that's what I hope.
And displaying
and also
and working with like-minded people.
And also like the younger aesthetic, right? Because what happens is, even though like I'm in the unk range now, right? Like unfortunately, and fortunately, because I like where I'm positioned. But I think what happens is, you know, when you're dealing with nonprofit work, you get stuck in what you can do because of your underwriters, because of the people funding you, right? Mm-hmm. And with some independence for us, I feel like we're a little bit younger base, so we're gonna understand, like, okay, let's say we have a festival, where does cannabis lie in that festival, right? So we can lie to young people and say, well, you could be an artist and you have to do it within these parameters, but guess who's knocking on the door to give you $5,000 to perform for like 2 songs might be like High Times, right? A cannabis company. So what do? You tell an artist not to do that if they're of age, right? If they're 21 and over, you're going to be like, bro, like you should probably do that. It's a good thing for your deal, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So to me, sometimes we get caught up in working with just the good kids or the kids that are like the most easy to work with. And the challenging ones that are like maybe challenge you to like have to move the line in what you do as your work as a nonprofit, to me are the most rewarding, right? Because those are the kids that are like unconnected to anything that's happening, and we're able to help them facilitate something. And really, bro, at the end of the day, bro, for me, if an artist can make a living in Detroit and buy a home and have their family here if they want to do that, and that's an option, that's really, for me, the goal. Is if you can choose to live here. You don't have to go to LA, you don't have to go to New York. And you go for a time, but that you have the ability to come back home.
To network, though. You know, you learn a different culture, you meet people, you know, you hear different sounds, different stories, different environment, you know what I'm saying? And it just adds to your dreams, your imagination, your talent, you know what I'm saying? Like, I really, bro, I always wondered, like, what does it require to like manage artists? Because we have some talented.
Are you want the truth, or you want like? Are you want the truth, or you want the? Or you want the?
Also, like a record label.
Or you want the industry? You want the nonprofit answer?
I want the
truth is this, bro. Like, there's 2 different layers. We Are Culture Creators has the nonprofit. That's open to everybody. Anybody can be a part of it. We're super flexible. Ask,
how does somebody become part of the Culture Creators?
I mean, it's super open. You just got to show up and want to be a part of it, right? And part of it is like, you know, do you fit? Do you fit? Because some people don't always fit with the group that's there. And that's okay, because we have 5 other groups that maybe you can connect with, right? If maybe it's not the vibe for you, we have 5 other people that you could connect with and maybe find your group that makes the most sense for you. We hope you stay with us, right? But that's not the goal. The goal is that you find somewhere where you can find purpose and meaning.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So managing artists is that you're going to take on every problem that artist has. So artists don't got money for rent. Guess who's finding the rent? Money don't have, like, they don't have a car. Guess who's trying to help them get a car? So it's not easy, right? A lot of people overpromise. I only manage one artist outside of Culture Creators, which is a separate thing. I only manage Damasio, and I use that loosely because Damasio is an entity of his own. Mm-hmm. He doesn't need much from me. I really just help facilitate some things that maybe he's not able to like maybe connect with, because I mean he's self-managed, right? But I can definitely help him get to rooms where maybe he won't normally get. And with an artist like that, that's more driven than you about their, like, the artist got to be more driven about their career than you. If they're not, it's not going to work, bro.
Yeah, no
because doubt. I've managed plenty of artists in my life, and I had to be real and just be honest to be like, hey, like this is something I can't do because I'm already managing a company, I'm managing myself, and just be transparent. Like I can help you. So the nonprofit side, you're always going to get support. I can always connect you with someone. I can always find you a mentor. I can always tie you into something. I can always get you 1 or 2 DJ opportunities. That's easy. Managing an artist full time, you have to have more than anything the right chemistry and the right commitment from the artist. If you don't have that trust, it's not going to work. And nowadays in the industry that we're in, a young person with a phone can make a hit song that goes viral and kind of be on a platform and make their own money, right? I literally saw someone beat on a table with a pencil and make a song that went viral, which is Bored in the House, right?
Damn,
Curtis Roach, who's a part of our collective, and now is more established doing his own thing, right? He's got his own career, his own management, but always our brother, right? And he just made a board in the house board, bored in the house board, right? And simple enough, really catchy, super talented to create it. But Curtis is such a lyricist, and like his catalog of music is so good, and he was able to take that one viral moment and turn it into a career. And now, he's got brand deals and he's works with Sony and has all these opportunities.
That's what I be saying, bro. I've been doing this shit for 5 years. What the fuck?
You gotta start punching on the table.
What do I gotta do, bro? Who do I gotta punch? Who's gotta get? Like what the fuck's gotta happen? You know what I'm saying? I mean,
with the viral shit, you never know, bro. You never
crazy,
know.
But it's always, I'm like, man.
Yeah, because like there's people that literally spend all day on ChatGPT saying, "Give me like a viral moment," and getting suggestions, and then go out and film this stuff. Right? I see it online. Like, what is the viral moment? But the hard part is like when you catch fire in a bottle. These
guys done got the shit. They had millions of views on some goofy shit. Just some straight goofy shit.
I mean, but that's how it works, right? You can't always. I don't know.
I'm gonna have to be goofy.
I don't know. I don't know if they plan that. But the thing is, like, the assumption is like, being current with the culture. It's just catching the right moment, catching the right wave, the right combination of things. I mean, the viral part, I'm not an expert at, right? I can't tell you. I can only see what's online and interpret what's happening. But I do know, for my work, the consistency of building event after event, you have consistency in your podcast, right? The consistency can pay off, and it's just positioning yourself in the right opportunity. For me, I go out and meet people a lot. That's what I do, right? That's why I became the Global Underground Ambassador for Visit Detroit, is that I try to go to 3 or 4 events a week. I try to stretch my circle out. I try to go to things that are not in my circle on purpose, so I'm not just like around people that are always lateral to me. Yeah. I try to go to stuff that maybe I'm not invited to, so I just work my way in and make sure that I
So is that part of your job responsibility, is to network for what you do?
I mean, I think
Visit Detroit.
So
what is Visit Detroit? How long have they been here?
So Visit Detroit is basically, think of Detroit's tourism office, right? So Visit Detroit deals with a lot of hospitality, a lot of hotels. And one of their jobs is to encourage people to do their conferences here, to do their events here, to come to Detroit, to facilitate filling up those hotel rooms, right? So one aspect that, as a storyteller for my job, is to, one, tell the story of the underground presence in Detroit, which is a lot, right? Like, I like telling stuff about Detroit where you don't see it online, where you might have to know somebody to know somebody, because one, the after hours culture in Detroit is amazing, right? Like, you're not going to find that. I've traveled around the world. It's on par with anywhere around the world. Detroit's best, like, kind of cultural export, right? It is culture, right? Its best export is cultural production, which is mainly black music, right? You're talking about techno. You're talking about R&B, neo soul, Motown. I'm glad we get to add like a Latino element to it as doing Fiesta House, which is like Latin house music, and tightening into the house kind of history and the techno history. So the other part of my job and responsibilities is to connect in the underground culture around the world. So we already do stuff as culture creators in Paris, London, Berlin, Mexico City, Guadalajara. So we produce events as hell, everywhere in the world,
and
right?
You're taking all these young people from our community, and they're going out.
We've taken 60. So the number right now is 60. So we've taken 60 young people from Detroit to across the world.
That's dope, bro.
From the Dominican Republic, to Mexico City, to Guadalajara, to Berlin, to Paris, to London, all the way to Morocco. We've done stuff in Morocco.
That's amazing, bro. It's just because, I came up in Southwest Detroit during a different time, and, the only thing we ever seen was what was in front of us, bro. And we didn't know how to dream. We didn't have no goals. We didn't know what we wanted in life. All we wanted to do was get through the day. All we wanted to do was to survive, and we wasn't even sure if tomorrow was going to come or not.
And I think, a lot of our young folks do come from that same reality, right? Because some things change and some things stay the same. I think, gangbanging was a lot different in the 90s. I think the internet didn't exist, right? So these young people are intaking at a level that me and you can't even imagine for our age bracket, right?
Yeah, for sure.
You think about what could you be in the 90s, right? It's a very, even for me, like as a creative and artist, like there's only certain things I could really fit into. These young people don't have those chains on them. They're seeing global music. They're seeing artists from all over the world. Yeah. They're hearing sounds. You can see what's happening with Amapiano and Afro beats as a Latino in Southwest Detroit from your living room on a phone. You can look and you can see what's happening all over the globe. You can see the parties in London and Paris. So I think young people just have the opportunity to be online. And I always love the younger Gen Z. That's mainly who I'm working with now. I know Gen Alpha's on the way. Shout out to Gen Alpha. But the confidence that they have and the ability to do non-genre style music, right? Like there's a kid that I work with in Chicago that does like corrido pop and will mix in narco corrido, mix with corrido pop, mix with it. Over here in Detroit, like EJ just dropped a project that mixes ghetto tech. They mixed in like house, they mixed in traditional and dropped like a mixtape, right? With all different sounds from around the world. And I think like that ability as young creatives is so different than when we were coming up where things were so boxed in. The internet just opens up like a world that we can't imagine. But the difference is, without facilitation, how many of those young people are actually going to be able to go to Paris and go to an event, right? So that's part of one of our pillars is to make sure that every year we have some level of exchange or some level of trip.
And that's a life-changing experience,
crazy,
bro.
You talk to any of them. You talk to any of them.
I bet you they ain't even want to come back.
Bro, listen, many of them are trying to figure out how to go back to be able to like make a living. Because what happens is you don't leave Southwest, or let's say you don't leave Detroit. Your parents might have never left the country. For a lot of them, their parents never left the country. That's one thing for sure. But imagine that you go to Berlin and you rock a whole crowd and they are fucking with your music. And the confidence you have coming back to be like,
Damasio did that.
Bro, a whole band in Berlin. It was his show. It was packed. He comes back home. Bro, what's the difference? Well, I can do a show in Lansing. I can do a show in Muskegon. I can do a show in Grand Rapids. I just did Paris. I just did Berlin.
Yeah,
So I think that's the aspect of our work.
And most of the people I know that stepped out of like Detroit and went somewhere else, bro, they always were very successful.
Always.
You know what I'm saying?
Well, because this is the thing.
And I wonder why it's like that.
But because
bro.
like I think it opens you up to the ability to be able to really see that you can do things outside of your block. Like when I was in Mexico City for 12 days, right? And this is something like as like a Mexican, I think you could appreciate. I'm sitting there in a cafe, right? It's a really dope concept. You pay 300 pesos, you get to stay. It's free snacks, coffee. $3.90, you stay the whole day, right? And you can just go get unlimited coffee, snacks. Bro, it's Mexican business owned by Mexicans from Mexico City. I'm sitting there, I'm working. I watched these young girls come in, maybe college age. They rented the back room. It had like these glass panels and they're playing games, playing music, and they're smiling and laughing and talking. I watched somebody across from me work I seen her do like 10 calls on her phone, right? Because there's a little closed glass room. The other person was emailing. And I'm sitting there and I'm seeing so much dignity and just so much humanity. And I'm gonna be real with you. That same night, we went to where the Zócalo is, right? So this is all within 10 hours, let's say, or maybe even like 6 hours. They were doing a salsa night, just dancing salsa out next to this fountain in the middle of Mexico City. All these artists had their workout, food were out, big old building, historic building, beautiful park. And bro, I wanted to cry because we never as Mexicans here, bro, we always thought like, oh, you're backwards, you're wrong, you're gonna be deported, you're visiting here, you're not from here, this isn't your land, why are you here? Speak English, assimilate, all these things. Growing up, that oh, you can't. Why are you flying a Mexican flag? Go back to Mexico, especially under this current administration. But really, historically, since I grew up, every administration has some level of that. And I'm sitting there, and it made me angry that the people I love and know need to see this, right, may not see it, but also that people don't know that there's all this beautiful stuff. Now, I'm not saying there's no contradictions. There's poverty in Mexico City, there's inequality, there's corruption, there's all these things just like here. But what I can say is I spent 12 days there and saw people living, thriving, celebrating, building, creating, and that overarching fear of being deported. Now, I don't know fully what that feels like because, I'm third gen.
Yeah.
But I know my friend's moms feels that. I know his dad feels that.
real.
I know like that some of my closest friends feel that. And
Shit, I got aunts and uncles that got deported. My cousins,
they
had to raise themselves.
That overarching feeling, right, doesn't exist there. And for you to be able to feel that movement. Now, yes, of course, bro, you still got Guatemalans and Venezuelans that are undocumented. I know a homie that's undocumented in Mexico that was Venezuelan that took, almost 7 years for him to be able to get Mexican citizenship. But feeling that as a Mexican, it enraged me and made me emotional at the same time. And it's something we don't get to feel because I'll post videos. This last trip I was there and people are like, where are you? Right? I'm like, yo, I'm in Mexico City. They're like, because as Mexicans from here, bro, we have a nostalgic version of Mexico, right? We think of the desert because a lot of us are from like the rancho. A lot of us are from those areas, right? Like my people are from the valley in Texas. So they worked on the farms, they worked in the desert, on the border. But there's such a vibrant city in Mexico City and in Guadalajara. I haven't really experienced beach towns because I don't really go to like vacation towns like that. But for those two
I would
cities,
like to, though.
of course. But so if anyone's booking, but honestly, bro, like that feeling of confidence of being from a place and centered, I wished that my closest friends, my family could feel what that felt like for a moment. Because just seeing our people thriving in that way, we don't get told that story. But what do you got? Narcos, we get talked about. We get told about the border and the maquiladores and all that's real. And we should think about those things and we should be critical of those things. But in the same breath, we don't get told in the United States that there are, over 20 million people in Mexico City thriving, right? And, within degrees. And I think that to me was like
best interest. It's not in
of course
the best interest to talk about that.
And then, but having the feeling of rage, wishing I could have experienced that when I was like 10. What would that have made me feel like? Right, I'm experiencing that as a grown adult. So there's a part of me that wants to figure out how do I get more of those young folks at an earlier age there to see that, to understand that, to feel that feeling of belonging. And don't get me wrong. Right, we're still Chicano, Mexican American, like that's still there. But I'll be honest, in the art spaces that I was in, that are all creative reggaeton artists and rappers, they understand what it means to be from somewhere else. So I didn't really get a lot of judgment, even being like a pocho, right? Because like I embrace that stuff. Oh, I'm a pocho, I'm Mexican, I'm Chicano, cool. Oh, your parents, your grandparents, oh, cool. Then you just keep the conversation moving. It's not a big sticking point.
My experience was very different, bro.
No, but did you have family there?
I went to Mexico, yes.
But that's
I
the
went
difference,
to go
though.
meet
See, that's
my
the thing, though.
family,
That's why I think the difference is if you have family there, there's a different. But what was your experience?
I went to the arcade, and them boys did not fuck with me. I thought they was going to jump on me, bro. I was young, bro.
But that's what I'm saying. I was
about 12 years old,
but that's what I'm saying. So think about it. The internet exists now. You can be exposed to everything as somebody in your 20s.
Man, that's the first time I see the motherfucker wipe his ass with a leaf. He took a shit behind the tree, took the leaves, wiped his ass, and got back in the game. We were playing soccer. I'm watching the soccer game. I see Dog. He run across. I said, damn, where you going?
But you were 12.
I was 12 years old.
Okay, so look, you got to go now and experience it now as an adult where you don't have to see him play soccer and wipe his ass with a leaf.
So I told my grandma, I said, Abuela, se cagó allá, and she was like, mijo, that's how normal.
they do it.
That's how they do it. I said, holy shit. So when I went to Mexico, I always knew that they always talked about Mexico being poor. I said, "Oh shit, I'm gonna go to Mexico. I'm gonna starve out here." You know what I'm
Come on,
saying?
man.
I swear to God, it was like the total opposite. Yes, people were poor, but they were rich with hospitality, with culture, with love. They were so welcoming. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, that's the thing that I feel like the frustration for me is that, like, when we talk about travel, why are they more successful? There is a level of confidence that you get being able to move around in a way. And okay, so like if you're a young Mexican kid, because we took a few of the young homies from Southwest, and you're able, all right, you know Freddie, right? You know Freddie,
that's
the
my guy,
filmmaker,
yeah.
young Freddie. Look, Freddie's our navigator in Europe. Freddie is the guy I go to be like, hey, where we got to go. He'll get on his phone and he'll find where we got to go, and I can trust that I just follow him. Like, I already know, like, he's going to know. But think about it, right? That confidence of him being able to do that through Europe, what does that mean coming back
for
home?
real. Hell
What does
yeah,
that mean
for
coming back
real.
home, you know? So I think those levels, salute. So I think, like, that's the important element. And I think another aspect of our work with is it too strong? My bad, bro.
That motherfucker's just right.
Okay. There's no limes. The thing is, I think one of the other aspects of our work, bro, is like we don't fit that mold that they want us to fit, right? They want us to be, that poor group. They need so much help. And don't get me wrong, we need funds. But, we're talented. We're vibrant. We're creative. We have energy. We bring things to the table. So we're not going to look the way, like, if I'm going to attract young people to be a part of something, am I going to attract them to something that's like, everything's always like a battle? Or am I going to attract them to something where, like, bro, you could really do this. Like, you can live the dreams you want to live, but it's going to take work. It's going to take consistency. It's going to be tough, but you can do it because there's 10 other examples in front of you.
So this is what I'm trying to figure out. Like you were talking about, you don't have to go to, California. You don't have to go here and go there. Like, how do we... Like I've always for years I've been wanting to have a talent show because there's so much talent in Detroit. You know what I'm saying? And I'm talking about like people like Raquel Soledad, people like Camila, Grupo Monte, just so many artists that I feel like are stars. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, who has to discover them? Why can't we start like a record label or something and invest in them and pay them, you know what I'm saying, and blow them up, you know what I'm saying? Like, how do we do that independently? Because I know in ATL they did it, and they said they did it because all of them supported each other.
Well, it's almost like you have, like, I feel like there is, one, I think there's two narratives for Detroit. I do feel support in Detroit for our artists and for our group.
But where we
I
can
feel,
pay them,
I feel like that's but that's
the
that's the thing. I feel like the business part is the difficult part because, like, if we're speaking honestly, it's very difficult to throw shows, very difficult to throw events. Like, I throw a big festival called Backwards and Bonfires, right? I'm one of the co-owners. I'm very proud to be a part of that festival. I'm the only Latino a part of the collective, right? It's a Black-owned business. I'm really always feel grateful that I'm allowed to be in those spaces, and we book like Cash Down, Doja Cat, and all these dope artists. It looks it's super successful. But the edge to be able to make a profit from shows in the city is so challenging because there's so much regulation. Because, think about it, right? We do a festival, you need 45 security guards, right? That's just what they request, the city. That's not even because we need it, right? We haven't had an incident at our event. But
I've never seen, at all the events I've been to, bro, I've never seen not one incident, bro.
Yeah, we don't, like, our vibe isn't that way, but the city requires you certain things, right? And it's not, I don't think it's like to blame the city. I'm just saying, like, that's the process, right? That's what they've deemed for the number of people you're going to have. There's a formula. This is how many you need to have, right? You need a police presence. You need to have an emergency. You need to have like a ETM, emergency, what do you call it? Ambulance on site. There's all these things that people don't think about. Mm-hmm. The profit margin is really difficult on just shows, right? I think there is some opportunity on the online side because it's a little bit easier where you might be able to, like, put some pressure behind like an artist and put some money behind an ad and push and like boost things. But I don't think it's impossible. There are labels here, right, that are looking, right? You have Capitals here, Motown is here. You have major labels that are here.
Are they looking at us though? Are they looking at our community? Are they looking for our people?
I
want to put a spotlight on our community, our people, our talent.
Yeah, the biggest. But I think, like, the biggest thing is representation, right? Like if that isn't, if those for like again, it's the gatekeeper of somebody who's like right.
You are representation.
Yeah, well, I mean we have our
You
movement.
know,
we have our
you
movement for
know,
sure. Yeah, we have our movement. I think like for
I
me,
represent my portion of things. I mean, bro, you the man, bro. You know what
yeah,
I'm saying? You
but
making shit
on
happen,
the label
bro.
side, on the label
You
side,
making dreams come
but
true.
this is the truth for me and the transparency, bro. I don't ever want to overpromise someone to set them up for disappointment.
Mm-hmm.
I manage one artist, and I commit to him on the sense of like, yo, I got your back. I'll help you with everything that you need. It is such a challenge, and I've been managing him almost for 10 years, right? We've been working together for a long time. Such a challenge to be able to get him to the tables we need to get him to. And it's not based off of talent, because he's one of the most talented artists I've ever seen. It's just being able to open those doors. And I think that maybe this next generation that's coming through Southwest, and also that is connecting, because that's why I do my art as a poet, right? I want to tell the stories of Midwest Latinos from the perspective of somebody who grew up in Saginaw, who has spent time in Chicago, who has spent time in Detroit, because our experience is different than LA, right? Our experience is different than the Southwest, right? Our experience is just like, man, you just how you sound, bro. Right, I'm sure you get how you sound is not a normal way that they expect Mexicans to sound.
Oh
right?
no, hell no.
But that's how we grew up, right? In Saginaw, Pontiac, Muskegon.
I swear, like people I've talked to on the phone, they're like, I thought you were a black dude.
But in other cities, right? Like if you're in LA or you're out west, that's not the narrative. So for me, it's important to tell that side of the story, because I think people tell LA stories a lot.
So even when I lived in East LA, I used to live in East LA when I was younger, and I had a hard time getting along because they were like, you think you're black, you dress like you black, you talk like you black.
But you just were raised
And
in Michigan.
I'm like, bro, I'm from Detroit. You know, we're influenced by black culture. You know what I'm saying?
Of course.
It doesn't mean I want to be black or I'm trying. It's just we're diverse. You know what I'm saying? And you know, we inherit the culture. You know, they buy tacos, we listen to Ice Wear Vezo. You know, it's just like that. It's you know,
so
Arabs
I
too.
I would
the
say
Arab
like
community,
like getting back to like the conversation about like labels, right? And I just think that for what we're trying to do is we want to be like a boutique, right? So we can't afford to be like a Walmart and book and have every brand in our store or a mall. What we can do is focus on 1 to 3 artists, give them love, support, build from that, right? And really care about how they put their music out. So Damasio was the first artist that is like on our label, and we were able to do a vinyl, right? Who does vinyl, right? That's a way to make money, right? For him to be able to like, you know, he sold his hand-to-hand ones, and then we're a partner with a label called Young Heavy Souls, which has a pretty successful track record of vinyls in Detroit. And I think that approach for us is only because that's the reality we're in budget-wise. Now, let's say we can get that moving, and then our second project is a collaborative project, and then our third project, we're still kind of in the air on who we're going to bring to the table. We have some ideas. We kind of know who is up. But to me, that chemistry piece is the most difficult piece, because I know I can trust Damasio to work harder on his career than I will, right? I'll match the energy, but an artist has to work harder, and that's the hard part, is like that consistency. Even when you're swinging, like right now, you're saying like, oh, I've been doing this 4 years, right? You're doing what you're doing when nobody's looking, right? How you work, what's your work ethic? What are you committed to? What are you willing to do in the sense of work to help move your career? And I think that's also a challenge when we're talking about artists that are pushing through. And I think that's right now, I think we're at that cusp when you listed a few artists that they have that opportunity. And I think the structural side of like the labels, I wouldn't depend on a label. I would rather an artist make their own label, make your own creation. Yeah. Because like the major deals are so convoluted now and watered down. It's much better for an artist to create their own movement, keep more of the money, maybe have less fans on a national level in the beginning, but work their way to like a distribution deal. That's really what you'd want for most artists, is distribution. More than them.
I just want us to have our hand in ownership of you know, of our community, of our people. I want us to be responsible for, you know, leveling up with our people and our community and bringing out the best in them and showcasing their talent. You know what I'm saying? Like,
well, I think the way
go out here.
I think the way that we do it is by providing 100 shows a year, right? And I think that was one of the spaces where we felt we could contribute the most. And it's like your path sometimes gets kind of, you get pushed into the path by like opportunity, right? Somebody came to me and said, hey, do you think you could do an R&B night at this high-end hotel? And I'm always going to say yes to the opportunity if it makes sense. I'm like, yeah, let's do it. I didn't have a full experience of doing R&B nights, but what I did have was a full experience of being in the art scene and knowing what artists I could book that would help me book other artists and know what we could do. So the first 3 months were hit or miss, right? We had a jazz group that was really good, low attendance. We had a really dope R&B singer, good attendance. Then one band will lead to another band that'll bring you another band, and pretty soon we had 200 people coming out, right? Every Thursday.
That's dope.
So I think our role right now at the moment is just being able to provide a platform to get into spaces. Now, my ultimate goal would, like, we got Backwards and Bonfires, a major festival. We got Fiesta Detroit, which is like our Latino version of like a festival, but we spread that out over nine events all through the city, right? Doing everything from high-end hotels to community-based. Like, we're doing the photo houses is right in the neighborhood, right? So we're doing the community stuff, and then we add in the more nightlife stuff, right? We're doing like Big Pink, we're doing the Brakeman, and then we're ending at El Club on Sunday. And we're bringing an Afro-Mexican woman. She's black, was adopted from Zacatecas. She sings corrido and mariachi
Get out
music.
of here. Damn,
And
that's
she's
dope
our
as
feature
hell.
for Sunday, right? We're in the blackest city in America, or one of the blackest cities in America.
That's cold.
And she's amazing, bro. Like, her music is like viral. So we're booking her. She's our main feature.
That's
And then
the
we're
shit.
filling in with 10 of the artists that we really love and support and have built with, from rap to corrido bands to folkloric to mariachi, just to fill the gap, right?
See, that's what I'm saying. With skills like that, I feel like they should eat off that shit.
Yeah, for
With
sure.
What you do, you should eat. I want to eat. I think these guys should eat. You know what I'm saying? Like, but I want us to be all at the same table, bro, eating and breaking bread. You know what I'm saying?
But I think, like, also you're breaking new ground, bro, because think about it. Who is the biggest artist that came out of Southwest Detroit that's Latino? Could you name anyone that's super big? Like, there's a lot of really dope, talented artists, but I mean,
Robbie Dizzle was like
super
one
dope.
of the coldest.
But
you
what I
know?
mean, like, on a commercial level, it's hard, right? Like, I'm from a neighborhood that I worked in for almost 13 years in Humboldt Park, right? And me and my friends that grew up in Humboldt Park, that are DJs and producers, we have the same conversation in Humboldt Park. Like, there's a few artists that kind of got close, but didn't quite become like that commercial staple. So there's room, but to me, there's somebody out there that's like younger than me, got more energy than me, that could possibly be the person putting that together, right? Because I've been to almost I mean, I don't know everyone in Southwest artist-wise, but there's a lot of super talented people.
Hell yeah.
And so
for
somebody
real.
out there will get the combination beyond what I can do. Now, maybe we'll work together, maybe we'll build, but I do think there's somebody out there that's like 12, 13, 14 right now that may be that person. There might be somebody right now, 18 to 25, that's out there been grinding.
Oh yeah.
All it is,
They're
bro, is
advanced.
it's
They
an
are advanced.
opportunity away. So I think for our role is that we provide performance opportunities. We provide networking opportunities. That's where we're at now. Now with the new studio, I'll be honest with you, I don't know, right? Because the idea of the new studio is to provide a professional space for artists, still accessible to young creatives, but it's a little bit more professional, where you can take a client, where you can build. It's in the Fisher Building, bro. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's gonna
for
be
sure.
it's gonna be something that we feel that we'll be able to build from, and I think that may lead to a label that's a little more established, but I don't know yet, right? Because we're still what I like is that we don't know, because to have everything planned out and these ideas, like, we're just kind of like, we always try something new.
Are
Let's
you
try something
guys going to
different.
be in the Cinco de Mayo parade this year?
So we're not in the parade, but we have our event at El Club, and so the parade.
El Club be slapping, man.
Yeah,
I
so
swear,
we
bro.
have our
everything
festival at
they
El Club.
do, they slap.
So we have our festival there. We do support the parade, right? Because, Damasio's mom is one of the coordinators, Alma. She's like
Okay.
I think she's the president.
Okay.
So we always support that. And, they have the traditional festival, which is very family orientated at Patton Park, which again, we would support people to go to. Our focus is more like younger Gen Z to Gen, a little bit like on the millennial side. And we just felt like we could fill a need, because we're not trying to be redundant. We're not doing like a family affair. It's more focused on young creatives. So we anticipate a good number of young folks coming out. I mean, we have a really good lineup. But we support all of those things. Like to me, when we do our schedule, we'll put the parade schedule, we'll put their festival, put our festival, we'll put everything along like along Werner, right? Like that's happening. We try to just promote everything.
Did you hear? Somebody told me yesterday that they're supposed to have the Mexican festivals at Hart Plaza again.
So there is a
Did you guys
there
hear
is a
this?
festival called Arriba Fest that's happening, and we know the organizers of that. So it's the first time they're doing something in Hart Plaza.
At Hart Plaza, I know, because we used to have Mexican festivals.
Well,
we used to have like
what
Latin
I
American
knew what I know about
festivals
that
at Hart
what I know
Plaza.
about that festival is this what I was told, and I was told this from the city. There used to be an earmarked budget to do those cultural festivals by the city of Detroit. When it went through bankruptcy, those were eliminated, right? So now it's kind of just been independent people throwing events. So there is a festival that's happening. I think it's called Arriba Fest. We are still working out what we're gonna do with them because we're gonna do an after party.
That's dope, man. Hell yeah, bro.
But I think like for us, we also have our Day of the Dead festival, right? Dia de los Muertos.
Okay,
And
yeah, for sure.
that's another earmark for us where we're trying, like what we trying to do, bro, on the Latino side, because Culture Crazy isn't just a Latino org, right? So we do a lot of stuff in the black community because our co-director is a black woman. Some of our young folks are black folks. So we do try to mix it up. I think we lean in more with Fiesta House on the Latino side. That's more like the brand that we work under. But I think like for us is part of our work as a nonprofit is to open up spaces that weren't open for us. And I don't even know if it was fully like people were like, oh, we don't want to do Latino stuff because Latino stuff makes money. So all these venues that were doing house and EDM stuff, Latinos would show up to
What
it.
is EDM?
Like electronic dance music. So
Okay.
like a lot of that stuff was not that they didn't want to do Latino stuff. I just don't know if they knew that there was a market or how to tap in. So we'd be at all these events that are like, you know, house and techno. It's a bunch of Latinos, separate though, right? We're just looking at you. Oh, what's up? I know you. With EJ coming up with the idea of Fiesta House, it allowed us to put all of us in a room, but then we could do Marble Bar. We could do Big Pink. We could do Spotlight. We could do El Club. We could do Speaker Box.
Have you been to the new Dodge Lounge? It's a place
Yeah,
I've
I've been there
been
before.
hearing about.
Yeah, I've been there before. It's cool.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure.
Seems like it's a lot of artists. That
Yeah,
go
it's
there,
a super performative. I've definitely been there before. Way early too. Disc Jockey George was doing stuff out of there. I went to a show, I don't know, maybe 2 months ago. But I think like on the performative side in the city, there's venues that like TV Lounge is another one that are historically not doing Latin nights. So like, you know, we meet people and we travel and they're like, oh, but you know that's not a Latin club. We're like, yeah, but that's even better for us, right? Because we want to flip the venue. We want to do Latino stuff in venues where we're not necessarily at because we know psychologically what that means for us. Like for us to be in the main venues and like doing events that are for us, by us on some FUBU shit, it means that we're opening up doors for our DJs because our DJs now get booked there. Our team gets booked there. The artists we book.
dope.
So like, it's not that like we love doing stuff in our neighborhood too, right? We love doing the stuff that's like more in the community because you know we do the Donut Villa, right? That's a Mexican owned spot.
What's that hotel you guys do an event at before? It's
We used to
kinda
do Foundation Hotel for a bit. We did Shinola before. We've done
Is it
everything, bro.
Shinola?
So
This
the Cinco de Mayo, we got Foundation Hotel for a mixer on Wednesday. We're ending at the Godfrey on a rooftop, right? With
Damn,
with
that's
Black
some
on
shit.
both sides, which is a black org. We're mashing up, right? So our big thing also as a cultural group is, yeah, bro, like we do need our space as Latinos for sure. We have a right to do that. But we're in a black city and we love sharing space with each other, right? So
Absolutely.
when they saw we were doing Cinco de Mayo, they were like, yo, how do we get you? We got a budget for a DJ. Can we get y'all? And we're like, bro, we'd love to collab with y'all to end Cinco de Mayo
Absolutely.
at a
Yeah,
rooftop,
hell
you know,
yeah,
like a
for
really
sure.
sexy
No
rooftop
doubt.
that a lot of our folks haven't been to, right?
Yeah,
Because
hell
they just
yeah.
don't know. They ain't hip to it. So I think our work in the art scene is another aspect of our nonprofit work that doesn't get registered necessarily in people's minds because we're opening up avenues. That's part of our work, bro. Equity and access to those spaces.
That's right.
Do Latinos have a right to be in downtown? Of course we do. Right. And it's just as difficult for black folks, bro, because like the people that run the venues, a lot of times my black business partners are locked out. Right. So they force their way in and they've worked because then when people start making money, they start seeing doors, they start seeing the amounts. We're like, oh yeah, we want you here now. But it's that first initial kicking in the door in a sense. Once the money starts flowing, people are like, oh, we want you here. Yeah, bro, your bar sales do great. So
You know what's crazy, bro? Is I a few months back I did a tour of the train station. You know,
that's another conversation that's on our list.
And
honestly.
you know, it was just crazy because, you know, that train station. You know, my family been here for 100 years in Southwest Detroit, bro.
Southwest,
you know
100
saying?
years.
For real, and I'm not bullshitting, bro. My family got deep roots here, and you know, I actually came through that train station when I moved from
Wow.
Chicago. As a baby, my mom left my father from Chicago and came straight to that train station, and my grandparents picked me and my mom up. And, you know, and I went for this tour, you know, and when I went in there, bro, it was crazy because I felt out of place in that motherfucker. You know what I'm saying?
Make you feel that
And-
way.
And people looked at me like, who am I? Like, what am I doing here? Like, I'm not supposed to be here. Now, I was amazed by all the progressiveness, all the, you know, just the art, just everything. I was so amazed until I zeroed in on how people were like looking at me like I was out of place. And I'm like, what the fuck? This is my community. Like, I have history here. My family has history here. Like, you know what I'm saying? And it sucked for me to have to feel that way in my own community, bro.
For
you
sure.
know what I'm saying?
Well, I mean, I think like some of the development in Detroit, that's what's happening, right? Like you have some development that is definitely like, for instance, there's a spot, right? We've mentioned a club a few times. There's an apartment complex right next door, right? And I know two people that live there that are really good people, and there's actually a lot of community folks I've seen. It's a good mix.
Mm-hmm.
When you do development right, and I don't know like how perfect that development is, I'm aware of it, but the people I've seen there are representative of the community, right? So you can do that, and I think sometimes, and this isn't just a train station, it's a very generic conversation in Detroit. When you, like I sit at these tables with developers that are coming in to do art stuff and want to do things, if you don't have the right team that represents that space, it's very difficult for you to get an authentic kind of like open arm, like welcoming space, right? And so you see things that happen in the city that are just kind of disconnected. Now, I think that the train station, there are some opportunities, definitely. You know, I think we have Alondra there who is a part of our community, grew up in Southwest, and she's doing some work on a leadership side there.
Alondra's the one that gave us the tour.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
Yep.
saying? And
And-
big shout out to her. I was proud of her for, you know, having.
But I would say that some of these spaces that are designed, it's just that out of place
they were
feeling you
not
feel.
designed for me.
That's what I mean, right?
And that's why I'm like, what the fuck? You know what I'm saying?
And I think this is an opportunity though, right? So there's one end where you say, fuck all that, I don't want to be a part of it. The other opportunity is like, is there a way to create something where if you feel that the other people that do come in don't feel that? Because now, like, I didn't know what you just told me about like 100 years, like, is amazing, right? I didn't know
no, I'm serious.
people that really
bro.
came through that train station. You
100
like one of the
years,
first
blood,
people that
sweat, and
like,
tears, bro, for real. And my family came through that. I came through. That's how I came to Detroit from Chicago. I was born in Chicago, bro.
Crazy.
1 year old, I came through that train station. My grandparents picked me up, bro. You know what I'm saying? And even before I went to prison, I was young, bro. Even when it was, you know, already dilapidated, you know, I went all the way to the roof, spray painted. That my name was all through that bitch. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I got history. You know what I'm saying?
Well, but I think for us, right, as when we do our work with Fiesta House and We Are Culture Creators and Fiesta Vibes Detroit, that's why we exist, right? So we exist to make sure that institutions, when we're working with them, we do create pathways that, because you even telling me that, I already put a battery in me, bro. This you don't even know. I've already put.
That's
We
right.
have a conversation.
That's right. Man.
we got a
Get their ass for it,
I'm not saying that.
I'm just saying.
We have
man,
a
I know what
conversation. I'm being political. Yeah, I'm not saying that.
Yeah.
We have a conversation already lined up though, right, with some people from the train station, just to see what we can do. That's all.
That's
Just
it.
to see what we can do. And the way that we work is generally, I think, you know, we have a good track record of being able to open up space and build in an authentic way that represents our community, but is still very welcoming, right, to the world in a sense, right? But I also believe we have a right to have space, bro. That history you just told me, like, that's something that I didn't think about fully, because I knew I was going to have something scheduled with them in about a week, just to have a conversation to see, hey, what's the possibilities?
Absolutely.
But now that's already planted a seed. But I do think that's representation, right? What is, like, you know, we have a mayoral election coming up. It's like, what is the future of our city going to be, right? Like, who are we going to support? And I'm not saying we should support anybody like on your podcast, but I will say there are people that I think get it for the city, and some people that I think if they were voted in would be problematic, right? And for me, you know, one of the people that I support, you know, is Mary Sheffield. I think she's a great candidate.
Oh, yeah, big shout out to Mary Sheffield.
And
She's a
you know, I
boss.
have an event coming up with her where I'm hosting her. I think it's May 19th. It's a Monday, and I'll definitely invite you to that. And it's just a conversation about art, right? Because I'm just curious from all the candidates, like, what is your vision on art? Because in Detroit right now, we're experiencing this kind of experience. We experienced it at Cinco de Mayo last year. A lot of our unofficial things got closed down. A lot of our businesses that were official, that had licenses, were asked to close down. Some of them fought and stayed open. Some of them didn't because they didn't want to fight with the police. And I think that conversation on a bigger citywide level is why is someone like myself, you know, who had my third life in Detroit, come to Detroit, right? Because there was opportunity to create some cool stuff that was community focused, that was community based, that was independent, that didn't need funding, that didn't need any of that. We're just doing it. Mm-hmm. But all of that, right, is closing. We did Backwoods and Bonfires, right, from a backyard on a side lot on a Wayne County building that we bought off the auction that they were thinking about demoing. We bought that and created like this super dope festival. Had we done everything legal, we would not be able to do that festival. So it took some grace for us from the city to be like, hey, bro, we didn't know that there was an event, bro. Come on. I didn't know there was an events organization in the city, like an events department. We're just throwing events, you know?
That's crazy.
We hadn't seen a police.
They're disturbing the peace.
Listen, in that area, I hadn't seen a police officer in 6 years out there, right? I had been out there 6 years in an area that people call Core City. You know, they might float down like Michigan, but like in the little pocket we were in, we didn't see any police officers. Mm-hmm. So for 2 years, they didn't even notice us. It wasn't until we grew to a point where people are like, wait a minute, like this is like a legitimate festival. We got to figure it out.
Yeah, for sure.
And we wanted to figure it out, bro. We wanted to be legal because then we couldn't necessarily like be bullied in a sense, right? Because like, hey, we're doing everything right. So I think about that young group that's 20, 25 years old trying to start a festival in the city of Detroit. It's very difficult. So we want to hear about legislation that talks about micro festivals. What is it when you have a festival that's under 1,000 people? What does that look like? Because we're not Movement. Movement has 90,000 people in 3 days. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So they're going to be judged in a different scale, yet we fill out the same application as Movement. That's crazy to me.
Yeah, for real.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like, think about it. That's crazy.
Yeah, for sure.
They have somebody full-time. There's no distance. The Movement. They have a lawyer or a team set up. That's all they do, bro. We're talking about 2 people starting a festival.
Wow.
You know, me and my homie looking at each other. You know what I'm saying? Say, hey, bro, did we fill out the application? What's the application? I don't know. And then we learn because we're not dumb. We learn. We learn the process. We learn the paperwork, right? You bring on some team members. You bring on some other people that have some expertise. Had we started legal, we wouldn't be able to start. The overhead would have been too much.
Yeah.
So we started underground with a generator in an abandoned house with nobody living in it on a side lot in the middle of Detroit.
Damn.
Like 0.9 miles from downtown.
That's what we do.
So I just
what
think that.
authenticates
So I just think to me, the conversation about what is Detroit going to look like in 10 years is important. And that's why I say, like, these conversations with our elected officials, with folks that represent us, it's just one pocket. I don't believe in like giving like all my power to an elected official because I can do a lot of stuff on my own.
Yeah.
But they fill the gap. They're a person there locally, at least, that I can go to and be like, hey, we're not being treated right. Can you help? That I feel like that's a role that's important. Like, who my city council member is important. Who my mayor is important,
Yeah,
right?
definitely.
When you start getting bigger, you can argue, right?
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
what does it really
absolutely.
mean, right?
Yeah.
But I think at least those local ones are very important. So,
Reyes, let the people know how they can find
Yeah,
you, how
for
they
sure.
can reach with you if they want to build with
so
you.
look, I'm Visit Detroit's new global underground ambassador. You can find me at Reyespoetry, or if you want to say Reyespoetry on IG. My organization is We Are Culture Creators. You can find us at We Are Culture Creators on IG, Facebook. Also, weareculturecreators.com. And we're constantly sharing work. One of our really close partners is Fiesta Vibes Detroit. Make sure you follow them. As well as Backwoods and Bonfires online if it's like B&B Music Fest, I believe so.
Let's go Pistons, man.
Let's go.
Listen, there's some bullshit been going on. You know, my wife, man, she worked there. You know, she worked at the VIP booths on the court. And, so she be going through it, bro, And, the
If she go through it, bro, you got to tell her just get a shot of head to
That's
do that,
right,
bro. She'll be
that's
all right.
right. Them refs got to clean their fucking act up, man. You're fucking over us, man. We're fighting for every goddamn shot we can get in this bitch. You know what I'm saying? You over here stepping on our toes and shit.
Hey, but it is New York. That's the problem, bro.
That's
Like,
crazy.
yeah,
They
it's
got
New York.
Wesley.
They want to see
not
that
Wesley
New York.
Snipes.
You know?
What's his name?
Spike Lee, bro.
Spike
He's like
Lee.
Wesley
I was Wesley
Snipes, bro.
Snipes. That, with that, one of them snipes. You know what
No,
I'm saying?
it's Spike Lee.
But
Cool.
anyways, man, god dang, man. So we got, it's 3-1 now. We headed to New York. Hopefully, you know what I'm saying, we can make something shake so we can bring it back to Detroit.
I think it
man.
will. I have faith in the Pistons. I always have
much
faith in the
love to
Pistons.
y'all, man, because on a real
Shout
shit,
out.
man, we ain't come this far just to come this far, man. Let's get back on track, make it happen, man. But much love to everybody who tuned in, you know what I'm saying? This brother, man, amazing brother here, man. Always a pleasure to have him. Much